Welcome back everyone to the Cat's Meowth and my first CGC submission. So I'm going to go ahead and just start showing the cards, and then I'll kind of talk about my decision to go with CGC over PSA while we go through them. So there's not going to be anything terribly exciting in this submission. These are a lot of my common and uncommons from my big pack opening that I did several years ago. I think I've got base through, I think just base through fossil. Am including a little bit of Japanese. Unfortunately, the cards that were in my set, even though they were pack fresh, some of them still had some issues that I thought might be significant enough to not get a super high grade. And so these are just the ones that I think are worth it to send off. Easiest reason for choosing to go with CGC right now is simply because PSA is not accepting any new submissions right now. They have suspended all of their service levels except for the express route, and that's, I believe, $300 a card, and you certainly want to pay $300 for these common and uncommon cards to be graded. If they can score high enough, they'll be worth a few bucks more than the grading fees, so it would be a profit over selling them raw. But the profit margins on these are definitely not as high as some of my other submissions. So that's kind of my thought, especially with my first CGC submission. I know they're tougher graders, so whereas maybe some of these would get 9s or 10s with PSA, chances are I'm looking at 8s or maybe even lower with CGC. And the value has not quite caught up for CGC cards. Personally, I think they're a fantastic company. They're reputable. They're strict on their grading, but it's, I believe, comparable to Beckett as far as, you know, if it grades high, you know you have a really good card. But yeah, for these low value cards, it's just not, even if PSA was open, it's just not worth sending them off to PSA with their higher rates right now. PSA is, for the lowest tier, is still $20 a card. CGC right now is, I believe, at 9. So it's it just makes a lot more sense, and that's something on the front, I believe. Not I actually may need to look at that one. It might be something caught between the penny sleeve and the I'm about to call this a top loader, but it's not a top loader. It's essentially a card saver, but they're off-brand card savers, because the actual card saver ones right now are insanely priced. Yeah, a little bit frustrating. So as you can see, we have most of my base set that I'm sending off, and I forget if I had to pull any of the Japanese base cards from submission. If I have, it's probably already been put in a sale video in one of the Facebook groups, or has been shown in my last sale video, but this might be the complete set. I'm forgetting now. As I've been sorting through my collection, I've been pulling cards to grade and setting them aside, and then pulling from those boxes as I can afford a submission, because even at $9 a card, this is a 200 card submission, so still gets pricey. Now, to qualify for the bulk rates, I only needed to send in 50 cards to CGC, whereas to qualify for the bulk rate with PSA, I had to send in 200 plus. I figured I'd just kind of keep it at 200, make the shipping a little more worth it, and frankly, I think I'm going to be doing this for the rest of the common and uncommon stuff, and probably some lower value promos. That I want to get graded to is just going through CGC, so that if at that point when the value is you know, $50 or less, yeah, it's probably not worth the extra $10 to grade to possibly get one extra number, essentially. Not a whole lot of Jungle First Editions, just the Rapidash, Tauros, and Oddish. That was a set that I never opened a first edition box of. I traded for everything, so a lot of those just were not good enough to be considered for grading. Again, most of my Jungle Unlimited set is being sent off. That was one that I got to open. And yeah, it was disappointing when I would find one that did have some damage, because I thought, well, if I could get a complete set off, even if they didn't match the grades, having them in, a whole set in sequential order would be pretty cool and might add a little bit of value to it. But I didn't think that would really matter if, like, the card came back with a 4, and then you would essentially be losing money on that card. So yeah, I debated back and forth or with whether I should try and find a replacement one to grade, but it is really difficult to find these cards in pack fresh condition these days, because if the people that have them in pack fresh condition are pretty much either keeping them or they're sending them off to be graded themselves. They're most likely not going to be selling them raw. Okay, so now we're getting into my first edition fossil set, and this was actually a set that I opened way before my YouTube days. I believe I was in high school when I opened this box. That was very exciting for me. In my big opening, I believe I opened, I opened the Unlimited fossil, because that, and I believe that's no, that is included here. So my fossil, I'm almost tempted to kind of pull these now, maybe from CGC, the Unlimited ones, because the Unlimited ones are the Australian printing. I didn't realize what I was buying at the time, but I bought I think it had a red label, like the word fossil was in red versus I think the tan-ish, and turned out it was the Australian printing, and the cards have this glossy effect. And actually that may not be with the common and uncommons. I'm struggling to remember now. I know that the Australian printing had some of the cards that had this glossy, like a Japanese type feel, and those are worth a little bit more. But these were sleeved so long ago, and you can't really tell just by looking through the plastic. So I'll have to go back and double check the copyrights, and might add a note to that saying that they are from the Australian printing. I don't think that really changes the label. I think they still give them the same label. I think you mostly tell by the copyright on the card itself. I think that's a little different, and so that would be the way I would be able to advertise it, as being something a little different for sale. And I believe the Unlimited Fossil set is where I stopped pulling. I think I've gone through my Rocket set, base 2, Legendary collection, just because I had someone, I believe, ask about some of the cards from that set. But I haven't gone through, I think, the Gem series or the Neo series. Probably once I get into the EX series, it's not going to be worth grading those commons and uncommons, except for maybe some of the reverses. I think it's just the Wizards of the Coast era that would be worth it to grade the commons and uncommons from. But again, that's assuming you kind of have to watch the market and see what the cards are selling for. That could change at any time frame. So I am excited though about CGC. There's a chance that I might actually get my submission from CGC back before I get my first PSA submission, which was sent off, I think, like September or October of last year. So it should be fun. It'll be something different. And if I'm really disappointed with the results of CGC, well, then I'll either just sell the remaining cards I would have pulled from them as raw, or determine if they would be valuable enough to pay the extra fee from PSA. So not a very exciting video, just being commons and uncommons. I did have a really awesome submission that was ready to send off to PSA, and that's when they suspended their service. So I'm hanging on to that one because there's some really cool cards in there, and I'll wait for them to reopen back up. And I might be able to get another CGC submission in before PSA reopens. I think they're anticipating, I think, reopening in July. So if that remains true, I might be able to get another CGC in. I've been trying to put in the submission every 2 to 3 months. Just takes a little time, obviously, to save up for it. So again, sorry, this isn't terribly exciting, but I hope you will stay tuned. I will continue to make the submission videos as I get ready to ship them off, and I will be making videos when they return, because when they return, everything is going to be for sale. So I hope you'll stay tuned.